session.
Let me feel some energy here, okay? 来，请坐。Please be seated. 就在这儿。All right. Hello. Good morning. 各位早上好。
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the annual meeting of the new champion Tianjin 2025, the Summer Davos. And today we will discuss China AI development pathway. It's a great honor for me to moderate this session. My name is Yang Lan. And welcome to take part in this session. So please, Mr. Zhou, your seat is here. Yes, welcome to take part in our session. And we have many important panelists in this session, and draws big attention.
Meeting of the New Champions 2025 parallel session co-organized by Tianjin Haihe Media. My name is Yang Lan. I'm a media producer and a host. It's my great honor to moderate this session with some of the most distinguished panelists. So today's topic is about understanding China's approach to AI. As we know that China is developing very, very fast in the AI industry. And so what are some of the reasons, what's the ecosystem as the background of this phenomenon? And so that's the topic of our discussion this morning. And of course, everyone, you are supplied with simultaneous interpretation devices. We can talk in both Chinese and English to the convenience of our panelists. And also, I would like to greet our audience on the website this morning who are watching this forum live. Okay, so let me introduce our distinguished panelists. 非常荣幸，
It's a great honor for me to introduce our panelists in this this session. We will discuss AI in China, and we will focus on the industrial development. We will talk about the ecosystem, the policy environment, and the entrepreneurship innovation of the enterprises. And we provide simultaneous interpretation. You can speak either Chinese or English. First of all, please allow me to introduce our panelists. They are Mr. Zhou Yunjie, Chairman of the Board of Directors and CEO of Haier Group.
Jie, Chairman of the Board and CEO of Haier Group, as you know, is one of the biggest electronics group in China and in the world. 坐在第二位的是宇树科技的创始人。
And Mr. Wang Xingxing, the CEO of Unitree Robotics.
Unitree Robotics, they manufacture and innovate humanoid robotics, very famous company in China. And following is Professor Angela Zhang from Grove School of Law, University of Southern California. 南加州大学古尔德法学院的教授。
Welcome, Angela.
也非常荣幸。
And next, we have the great honor to have
这是 Workera 的创始人 CEO Kian。
And also, we have the great honor to have the presence of Mr. Li Haitao, Dean of Chunkwang Graduate School of Business.
Graduate School of Business. So why don't we just cut to the topic directly? 我们首先就开始进入一个讨论。第一个问题。
The first question goes to Mr. Wang Xingxing. We know that your company has a significant development in recent years, which draws big attention of the people. So since the foundation of the company, and in recent years, your big development. So What is the relationship between your company's development and ecosystem environment you are in the city? And any company, if you want to have a good development, that is because your industry has a good development, because the whole industry draws the attention of the public and you have the big support of the public. That is why the whole industry grows significantly. And if you take lead in the whole industry, and I think that is the reason for the success of lots of high-tech enterprises, the enterprises in robotics. Of course, the city we operate in supports us a lot. For example, Zhejiang province has a very open business ecosystem and also has lots of talents. In this way, it's easier for us to recruit talented people. In the early years of development, because the industry had less people than it is now. So we are very strong in our operation because we have very rich categories of products, and we are more able to hire more talented people. And I started to work on robotics as early as 2009, and I started my company in 2016. So I think that people just pay attention to the robotics, and robotics as an industry has become the hottest field just next to AI. And we also accumulated much experience. And I think we have all the strengths from the environment, from the people, and from resources. You started your company in 2016. How many people did you have back then? Only me. Yeah. How many employees do you have now? Including the manufacturing side, we have more than 1,000 employees. And how much is the revenue annually? It's about 1 billion RMB. Yes.
On the introduction, the base of Unitree, the company that Mr. Wang Xingxing founded back in 2016, is located in the city of Hangzhou in Zhejiang province, which is almost like a center of technological innovations, education, and also entrepreneurship. So he introduced about the background of how the company started. 那接下来一个问题问到
Next question goes to Mr. Zhou. We know that compared to the emerging high-tech enterprises like the Unitree, we know that Haier Group is like giant, huge company. So when a company like Haier, so big, wants to make innovation and tries to use AI in your whole system, so what did Haier do? Normally speaking, a well-established and so huge company is difficult for them to make innovation. So I think AI, besides being technology, it is also about to change our mindset and thinking. So this requires enterprises to respond quickly to the dynamics of the market, and also we need to use AI to create a better experience for our consumers. So before doing this, we change our organization and the management system on all the links of our people and the organizational structure. And for example, we have the large language model in the air, and on the land, we have the intelligent agent and also the smart devices. For example, we focus on two large language models. The first one is the smart home brain, and the second one is the industrial platform, which empower our factories. For example, we use the smart home brain. We can have a good communication and interaction with our consumers. We have a requirement for a company, for example, in the smart home, we must use the deep seek, among other, the AI.
open, more open.
Yes, this is our purpose. So that we can provide better experience for our consumers. In terms of intelligent agent, for example, we can use our audio system to connect all the home appliances. For example, the oven, the refrigerator can be connected to the supermarket. In this way, we can use AI to do the identification of the products. And in the future, we want to connect with the robots, for example, the house, the home robots, and other robots. And for example, we also developed a lot of intelligent home appliances. For example, the hood, the fume hood, it can adjust the speed of ventilation according to the flame, and we can also make it lift. They can lift or lower down according to the flame. And I think we must use AI also in our operation. For example, from the R&D to the purchase for the procurement. Yeah, and do you use AI in the decision making, in making a business decision? Do you use AI? Yes. I think AI can be a good assistant for us to make a wiser decision. The first factor is the data. Second one is the scenarios or the use cases. Third one is people. So we must make people more creative and the ecosystem more value added. And we must use data and AI to assist us to make decisions. But it is the people who make decisions, not machine. Yes, Mr. Wang also mentioned that they have the human-like robots and the four-legged robots. Do you think are they directly connected to the development of home appliances? Of course, Haier has established a robotic department. For example, we developed the robotic arms for our manufacturing sites. We also use the robotic technology to provide a health service. And I think it will be a must in the future. This will be the trend in the future. Maybe at the first beginning, we may not necessarily develop the totally human-like robot, but I think in the future, human-like robot will be the trend. They can accompany people. They can also do the elderly caring and nursing, and step by step, in the future, robot will be a new family member for us. But of course, a lot of people who are providing this kind of service, they don't want to be replaced by robots. Yes, and our idea is that we won't make robots do everything to totally replace the health service providers. And of course, it is forbiddingly expensive to develop this kind of robots. But of course, we design our solution based on different scenarios or different use cases. For example, we develop this robot only for that purpose, rather than doing some robot which is omnipotent, which can do everything. In the future, we want to develop robots as smart and small as home appliances. Yeah, Mr. Wang, do you think your company will use the robotic technology in the different scenarios in a home? Yes, of course. I think, and it's also challenging, like the social robot. Yes, and now we have used our technology in agriculture, in industry, because safety is not a big concern for these two scenarios, but it is the concern for the social robot. And just something.
女孩的鞋子给踩掉了。
I think there was an example where it stepped on a girl's shoes, made them come off, which gained a lot of attention. But thankfully, the robot didn't actually enter her feet, which would have been much worse. But even stepping on her shoes, that's something we really don't want to happen. So this is a greater concern rather than technology or ethics. I mean, it's a very challenging concern, actually, safety. All right, well, very interesting. We can talk about it more in a second.
Introduce a little bit what the company does, Workera. It's about AI agent, right? And how do you apply that to the development of the whole industry?
So one of the problems that AI is bringing to the world is the fact that a lot of jobs might be changing. You might have tasks that are fully automated. Most of them are going to be augmented or unchanged. But this will create movements in the workforce. You might see people needing to go from one career to a different career, or might want to reskill from one skill to another skill. And so what Workera focuses on is enabling those movements by accurately measuring skills. When you can accurately measure skills, you can personalize learning to tackle the gaps. You can find the right project for the right person. You can find the right team with high chemistry. You can do a lot of things once you understand skills at the foundation. Now, historically, assessing skills has been a really hard problem. To make it accurate, fair, meritocratic, one assessment might take an entire year to build. Agents are really good at making good sequences of decisions or actions. And so what we've done is we've taken those decisions and actions, and we've compressed it such that we can create really, really good assessments in about 10 minutes. And that allows organizations to understand better the skills of their employees in order to support
What are the
that
skills?
movement.
Could you explain that in a more specific way? What kind of skills?
Today,
Professional skills or our thinking models? Or what kind of skills?
I would say
Language skills?
everything, but today there are skills that are more important, and I would split it in two categories: durable skills and perishable skills. Durable skills are the skills that we think are going to be useful 10 years from now or more, like critical thinking, problem solving, communication, teamwork, AI literacy, AI fluency, basic coding. Wow. These are things that we think analytical. Those are things that we consider durable. Perishable skills are those that change really fast. Yeah. Building AI agents, prompt engineering, vibe coding. These are skills that are needed to build innovative companies and systems, but that are changing super fast. In 6 months from now, the next version of Python or TensorFlow or PyTorch, which are deep learning frameworks, are changing super fast, and we need to support that change.
Wow. Then I think the skills or the AI agent you're providing is very useful for Dean Li, right? Because they from the School of Business, business schools are about to train minds and people to learn certain skills or to assess certain skills. So I'm interested in what Workera is doing.
Yes. I'm hesitating. What should I say, English or Chinese? Well, she asked me in English, so I respond in English. So I think that's a very interesting application of AI. How do you? Because AI, the biggest contribution of AI is scaling of intelligence. We're creating intelligence, not just replace blue-collar labor. We're replacing white-collar labor. We're replacing, so really. That's going to create tremendous changes in the job market, in business applications. So we really, our students, I'm from CKGSB, most of our students are chairmen, CEOs of private enterprises in China. They care about two things, mostly nowadays. One is AI, how AI is going to change their business. Two is how to re-globalize in today's re-globalization world. I believe China in the current environment has tremendous potential in this AI revolution. Only two countries, only two countries can lead AI revolution. One is America, one is China. I'm sorry, with all the other, I'm being politically incorrect. I'm being politically incorrect. But we can argue that only these two countries can lead AI revolution in the next decades.
So far.
So far. Yeah.
But can you elaborate a little bit about the overall ecosystem of China? Why it facilitates the fast growth, almost explosive growth of AI applications? What are some of the key qualities or some of the features of the Chinese market?
I think, first of all, I'm a professor, so I think the first contribution is Chinese universities, because you create so many STEM graduates, right? AI, like most of the scientists, researchers in AI are from, shouldn't say most, a large proportion of these scientists are coming from China, educated in China, go to America, study in these top universities, but also we have local grown experts in AI. So we have this large base. It's like a football, right? If you have a lot of people playing soccer, you eventually you have a team go to World Cup. But so
I'm not quite so sure. In the case of Chinese football.
In the AI sense, we have a large base. First of all, secondly, the AI, the fact we have 语数科技, the fact we have Liu Xiaolong, the 6 small dragons from Hangzhou, is actually accumulation of Chinese the revolutions from internet, from mobile internet, like from e-commerce, all these accumulations. So Huawei give us 5G. telecommunication. When you do AI, you need to transmit data from data center to applications. Now you have this, you have 5G. China is leading in this area. Now you have Ali. Ali has Alipay. We have WeChat. We have so many electronic, all these digital apps that accumulate so much data, make Chinese people are really used to use digital apps. Where, like digital natives, this create a huge amount of data, huge amount of infrastructure, like Ali Cloud, right? Tencent's cloud. You have this computing infrastructure, you have people this habit, you accumulate so much data, you have ByteDance, you have TikTok, all these, not just, you have this image data, you have video data, right? So China has accumulated a lot of things. Then until you have DeepSeek coming in, right? So it's not just jump from 0 to 10 feet. You have a lot of accumulation.
In algorithm.
So the advancement in the third industrial revolution transfer to the AI revolution. So again, like Ali, Ali has created this ecosystem in Hangzhou of innovation, of digital application, of infrastructure. So that's why Xi Dada, right? When he met with all these entrepreneurs, he spent most of the time talking to Jack Ma, because Jack Ma, Ali is instrumental creating Unitree to creating these companies. So it's not just from vacuum. It has been accumulated for decades.
So you mentioned talent, you mentioned algorithm, data, and maybe also infrastructure,
habit,
and maybe also power, energy and power.
Energy, exactly. So China spends so much time on solar, on alternative energy, because the end of AI is energy, right? So Meta bought a nuclear power plant, right? So energy is another thing that's going to be extremely important. U.S. Donald Trump is going back to fossil fuel. He's going to do, like a shale, exploration, shale gas, etc. But China will continue to go alternative energy because only alternative energy can make China energy independent. 70% of China's natural gas and oil is imported, so that's not sustainable, right? So energy is very important, and also the Chinese government is creating this computing infrastructure, 东数西算, right? So we have all the data application on the East Coast from the coastal regions, but then you have the computing centers in the interior regions because you have water, energy, water resource, anything. So the government has also created this infrastructure to support AI development.
So it's more energy effective and efficient.
Right.
And I think Professor Zhang is in the position kind of to compare the ecosystem of innovation and AI development between China and the US. What are some of your observations?
First of all, before answering your question, I want to say I really need a robot from Haier to relieve me of all my household duties. So that's really my dream. So I want Unitree and Haier to cooperate as quickly as possible and make my dream come true.
希望你们早点合作。
Yeah, she wants you working together sooner rather than later.
I work full time as a mother, and this is extremely important, and it is very, very practical. Now, since I'm based in the United States, I feel this is like a great privilege and a wonderful opportunity for me to join today's the Summer Davos, because I can personally meet a lot of the tech entrepreneurs from China on the ground. And I met more than 10 of them in the past couple of days, like back-to-back meetings. They were very generous in talking to me. And one of the things that strike me, like the difference between the US and the Chinese AI ecosystem, is that there's less emphasis about training the next most powerful, fancy AI frontier model, but more down to earth, like how are you going to use AI for specific applications? How are we going to improve productivity, lower costs, right? I mean, just like what Haier's
Mr. Zhou.
Like Mr. Zhou was mentioning, right? I mean, so it's a very, very application-specific, very pragmatic approach to AI. And to add to what Professor Li mentioned, right? I mean, so and that is And that is one big advantage that China has, because that helps China to scale, right? I mean, we all know that China has a strong competitive advantage when it comes to scaling, and that is from both the supply and demand side. From the supply side, we have a very strong manufacturing base, right? That industrial capacity will allow China to able to, turn out hardware to support the AI applications, right? Robotics, so that's why China will have a very strong advantage in robotic application, physical AI, and also on the demand side, because we have a very large consumer base and with very low cost manufacturing supply that will allow China to diffuse the product, very quickly. And that product diffusion is important, as Professor Lee mentioned, right? I mean, data is a crucial input into the AI product. And when it comes to physical AI, you need to collect a lot of real-world data, right? I mean, so the more diffuse your product is, the more application that you have, you get to gather more user data, which in turn can feed back into the AI software. So that's a virtuous cycle that China has. So I can see, I already see, an AI ecosystem is emerging from China.
Yeah, thank you for the comparison. That's very interesting observation. 所以我们的问题再回到
So let's take the same question back to Mr. Zhou. Now, you just mentioned that Haier has been a very successful big company, and with intelligent manufacturing and distribution of resources, it's using AI tools and AI support to reduce costs and raise efficiency. But at the same time, Haier itself is an ecosystem in its own right, because you're present in all segments of the value chain. You actually have an ecosystem of your own that fosters SMEs in each part of the value chain. What are your strategic considerations in terms of that? Well, if we talk about competition in the future, it's not going to be competition between individual companies. It's going to be between ecosystems, that's for sure. Haier, as a big ecosystem, wants to refine itself and diversify. Now, we started with home appliances, then we moved to big health and other future-driven applications. Now, we do this on several levels. Now, we have upstream and downstream partners, and we have other horizontal partners. Now, we set up teams of experts to integrate with our platform effects. We've done plans for digitization and intelligent or smart development of the oil industry, for example. And we've worked with the chemical industry and Chery Automotive as well. This has been very popular with them. We've helped them achieve that kind of transformation.
Because they have their expertise and the know-how, and we have the industrial platform. Another example is we can work together with the middle-sized enterprises, and they're not that big. And for example, we work together with an ecosystem partner who is worked on the chain of the motorcycle. And altogether, we developed very fast. And this company now has become the #2 worldwide in this niche segment. So you mean that cooperation not only happens between the giants, but also between big companies and the smaller ones. Of course, and some SMEs, they cannot afford the fancy technology, so we can provide the SaaS service as a service. So in this way, we can help the SMEs to apply AI very fast. So in the future, I think AI has a role to play in each industry. Or you embrace it and use it, or you will be phased out by those who are good at AI. So in the future, I think the smart people and AI will dominate all industries. So in the future, the level you work together with AI will decide your future. So what kind of specific cooperation will Haier have with Mr. Wang Xingxing's enterprise? So for example, we have a lot of use cases and scenarios, and their robots need settings to train their robots. So what is the difficulty or bottleneck for their industry? I think the large-scale application, the scaling up, I don't know, 1,000 units level or tens of thousand level. And for example, home appliances, we have hundreds of millions of units, so we can accumulate lots of data. And for example, your question, whether the household workers will be replaced by AI or robots. But actually, the purpose of our robots is to assist the household workers. For example, the elderly people, and if they want to turn their body on the bed, if you work manually, that will be very heavy work and difficult to do. But we can design some robots to do this specific work. Yes. I think the scenarios, the settings can provide a very good data environment so that the robotic company can learn from. And Mr. Wang Xingxing, so how big is this industry? Elon Musk said that in the future, the robots will be as many as 4-5 times than the population of human being. So that means 4-5 times the human population. For example, in China, in Chinese market, this is the very hot topic. For example, your robot draws big attention from the public. And then a lot of enterprises of the similar technology grew up. So do you feel the competition, which is very fierce? Yes, absolutely. All the industries where people focus on are highly competitive. But competition can give us momentum to go forward. Do you have enough sleep? Yes. I have some time to take good rest. But I think the point is that we need to improve our products continuously. We are not a very young company. We have about 9-10 years. And first the beginning, and I think the competition was even fiercer than it is now. But we have accumulated robust resources. But I think we can withstand competition. So you are very confident in your technology. Yes. So I think the point is that we need to keep pace with the times continuously. And this year, next year, for example, if we stop in the R&D, well, you will be a very mediocre company. So we are working on a high-tech industry. You need to make sure that your technology keep progressing and advancing with the times. And if you stop yourself, no one can help you. And we do have big pressure. And the pressure comes from making sure our technology novel. And for example, big platform like Hire, are they attractive for your technology? Yes, we do. We are looking forward to working together with companies like Hire, and we are working on that. But not that we will start large-scale application very soon, and it does take some time, and we must do it stepwise. And there will be short period where there is a very significant growth of technology, and then it will there will be a plateau, and then the market will be expanded. So when you don't have very good technology and you want to expand the market, and that will be very difficult. Yes, there must be a perfect matching between the technology and the market. Thank you for your sharing.
Dean Li said that the US and China are the only two leading engines of AI in the world. Do you agree? You grew up in Europe, right? How would you compare the ecosystem for the AI industries in US, China, and Europe?
So I'd say that I'm not an expert at the Chinese AI ecosystem, although I've had only good experiences. And one of the things that stood out to me is the density of talent, engineers, scientists.
Density of talents,
Very impressive. I find San Francisco to also be a special place. And when I arrived at Stanford the first year, what shocked me was the density of 4 or 5 key personas in the same place. Engineers, founders, investors, professors, and executives from large companies.
Venture capitalists.
Investors,
Yes.
venture capitalists as well. All in the same place. In San Francisco, if you go to a coffee shop, casually, on your right, you have a startup founder pitching an idea to an investor.
Yeah.
On your left, you have some engineer that is trying to hack a system and code. In front of you, you have a PhD student that's reading an AI paper and trying to reproduce it.
Yeah.
I've never seen that anywhere in the world before I arrived in San Francisco. It's quite special. The other thing is the values that Silicon Valley has, I think are really important. The values of hard work, which we also find here. People are just working hard. They're highly passionate.
Yeah.
They're geeking out on technology really at all time. And their learning velocity is really high. People keep learning all the time. And I think Mr. Wang Jingjing, you said earlier,
Wang Xingxing, yes.
Sorry. You said earlier that if you don't learn, nobody's going to help you. That's your competitive advantage. And I think Silicon Valley embraces that truly.
Yeah.
Now,
Very motivated.
very motivated.
Very motivated, yeah.
And also, San Francisco is not a party city. It's not a night city. It's a morning city. There's more people at 8 in the morning or 6 in the morning outside than there is at night. It's a city where you build a habit, where you try to be healthy, and where you try to be productive.
The whole China is like that.
And I will teach you a new word in Mandarin. It's called juan. Juan. Very competitive.
Okay,
Very,
juan.
very competitive because juan. Yeah. But how about Europe?
I've lived now in the US for 9 years.
Yeah.
I go back to Europe from time to time. I think it's an emerging ecosystem.
Yeah.
I would say it's behind the US and China for sure, but
Yeah.
it is an emerging. There is also great talent.
But do you see the momentum of catching up?
I don't know, honestly. I haven't spent enough time in
Any
that
European
ecosystem.
representatives? We will open for questions later on.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a good question. I'm actually going to be in France after Tianjin, and so maybe
Yeah.
I'll answer that question next week.
Okay, wonderful. So, Dean Li, what's your comment on that? And also, in terms of education, what kind of leadership or leaders are you helping to nurture for the future, for the market?
Right. I'm sorry, I might have offended everybody in this room,
Some
making
sort of.
some strong claims. But I do feel, like you said, Angela said, if you go to Shenzhen, you go to Hangzhou, you go to even Changsha, Chongqing, you go to these cities, you talk to entrepreneurs, especially in the manufacturing, in technology sectors, you see the excitement about AI, especially after DeepSeek. I talked to our students, our alums, like before DeepSeek, they said, well, China is just following US. Whatever model US have, we just copy, we use open source to, just follow. But with DeepSeek, they say, oh, we can compete at the cutting edge. Either we can have the kind of model, even though it may not be perfect, may not be 100% equal, but we can do that. That's a great revolution that, we can compete at the highest level in this model space. Now, once we have the model, once you have the brain, there are a lot of things can be done in AI, like humanoid, right? Robots, like AI in home appliance, in all manufacturing processes. Because once you have the big model, the real competition is have a killer app, have a real application that can change industry, can move industry forward. It's not just like ChatGPT help you write a speech, write an essay, but can really help entrepreneurs to solve their problems. And in this sense, China has the best application setup, like Haier. When you go to application, you don't need a big model. You need a specialized model specific for home appliance industry. Now, to do that, you need to have domain knowledge. You need to have data in this area. So even though my model is not 100% with OpenAI, whatever, but if the model is good enough, when they go to this specialized area, I'm the expert. Mr. Joe is the expert. Nobody knows home appliance industry better than him. So he can streamline his process. He can just encode his knowledge into this AI process, into this specialized model. That can really change the business right away to help him lower cost, improve efficiency, make a better forecast. So China has many such kind of applications.
So the fact that China is actually manufacturing about 30% of the total products in the world gives a huge application scenario for these technologies.
So the system in US and China, I think there are going to be two AI systems because Donald Trump really wanted to decouple with China. He really wanted to, constrain technology transfer from US to China. So what China do? China has to develop its own ecosystem for AI development, like energy you mentioned, chips, big model, and then its application.
Yeah.
So in application sense, China has, like the 10 entrepreneurs you met, they are focusing on applications. In this area, in automobile, in home appliance, in electronics, in design, in whatever, right? And also the Chinese entrepreneurs, because they grew up, like Wang Xingxi, they grew up in the digital era. For them to apply, digital products, these applications are natural to them. And also 内卷, involution, you have these competitive forces to force them to lower cost, to improve efficiency. So they have a natural inclination to use these technologies. They have a market to apply these technologies. They are being forced for competition to apply these technologies. So there's this tremendous fertile ground for application of AI in China.
So what you mean is that in a certain way that President Trump also helped to stimulate the self-dependence of Chinese AI development?
He has to do that. He has to do that because if China has H200, has Blackwell, have all these chips, then there's nothing, there's nothing to hold back China in this new era of, in this AI revolution. So he has to do that. It's not like but it's not a good choice. But the alternative is even worse for him, right? So that creates two separate systems.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how about some of the common concerns and the risks? We're talking about the hallucination, the black box system, and we talk about ethics and privacy issues, the safety, security of data, etc. So, Professor Zhang, you have studied the social governance or the social governance of AI. What are some of your new findings and observations?
Well, AI application is really, AI regulation is really complicated because it touches upon a wide variety of areas, right? I mean, and some of the issues that you mentioned. But broadly speaking, we can distinguish it between, short-term and long-term risks, right? I mean, the short-term risks, I think it's quite well known, like bias discrimination, potential job loss, and IP infringement and all of this. And then we have pretty mature legal tools to deal with this problem, right? A lot of the pre-existing law can deal with this problem, although there is a big question of how intensely you want to enforce this law because you don't want to deter innovation. So people always talk about, if we regulate too aggressively, it will stifle innovation. But I think we need to distinguish between different cycles of innovation, right? I mean, so to quote Joseph Schumpeter, innovation evolves through three stages, right? First is invention, and then it's adoption, and last is diffusion, right? I mean, when ideas are still being formed, being tested in the lab, we don't want very premature and heavy-handed intervention, right? However, when we reach the product diffusion stage, when it has been applied very broadly across different industries, the risks become more systematic. Right, and at this point, I do think it's important to regulate. Right, we keep a very close eye on how the technology is being deployed. Right, I mean, so it's not like every form of regulation is necessarily going to hold back innovation. We need to distinguish between different types of different cycles of innovation. But I think the biggest problem that we face right now is how to regulate the long-term AI risks, like being, whether AI could pose existential threat to mankind, right? I mean, and to this day, there's no clear scientific consensus on that, right? I mean, some of the leading thinkers think that AI can, we can reach AGI in a few years and it can get out of control, while others think that AI is dumber than cat, right? I mean, so to this day, we still don't know. There's a lot we don't know about AI, not to say how to regulate this technology, right? I mean, but I don't think it's a good idea to entirely forget about this because it's a remote and speculative risk. I think we can at least do something to understand it, right? Do something proactively to understand and monitor its development. And with that regard, I think global international cooperation is important.
Well, thank you so much for your insights. Now we are open questions from the floor. Does anyone who want to ask a question, please raise your hand. Yes, this lady, please.
谢谢杨澜老师。
Thank you very much to Yang Lan. I am from the Tianjin International Communications Center. Now I'm talking about technology accessibility. Now, DeepSeek was developed on an open source model, and so that drastically lowered barriers. Now, I've also noticed a comment by Mr. Zhou from Haier, and he's saying that integration of AI into home appliances will bring it to more people, but at the same time, on a global level, accessibility is also an issue of the equitable distribution of resources, which isn't exactly the case. Now, what can government, companies and international organizations do to provide Chinese experience on accessibility? Right, okay, so this is about accessibility and promulgation of technology. So, Mr. Zhou, you could maybe talk about this. How can you make it more accessible and affordable, or less of a digital divide, so that we don't have an AI divide? Brilliant question. When you innovate in technology, you want to set up certain barriers to protect your product, but at the same time you want it to be available to more people as users. So I think we need to set up an open and open source ecosystem. Now, Xiaomi and Apple have walled garden ecosystems. We want to have open systems with lots of different home appliances that can be integrated into them. And that's the direction we want to move in. Secondly, we developed a lot of products and we developed safety mechanisms for our water heaters, but in order to make that accessible to all users, we actually made the patent available free of charge for that safety mechanism for everyone to be able to access it. Right, great. So hopefully there's going to be more technology developed on open source basis to empower the value chain. All right, thank you.
The gentleman, 这个第三排这位男士。
The gentleman in the third row. Thank you very much. I'm from the Beijing Daily, and I'd like to ask a question to Wang Xingxing. At the start of this year, there were a lot of noticeable breakthroughs in technology. Now, that included DeepSeek and many other examples of innovative tech companies bringing new products out. Now, as an industry insider, you have also shared a lot of important info with us. Could you, though, speaking as an insider, tell us why all of these Chinese innovations all seem to come out at the same time. There seemed to be a spurt forward. That included Unitree, that included DeepSeek and so on. Now, there seems to be a period of intense change, but in geopolitical and international relations terms, you've had the US, especially under the second Trump administration, changing a lot now. Why has it all come out of China? And is that going to be the new normal? Well, thank you very much. And yes, tech has been evolving very fast in China. I think one big reason is that a new generation of people born in the 90s and the 2000s have a lot of access to information and IT hardware. Now, when I was young, I was able to learn from the leading global tech platforms and solutions. Now, this generation is globalized in tech terms, and that includes what they've been able to learn at university. And it's a very supportive environment for them. Now, when you have young people learning a lot about new technology from the beginning, they are able to flourish in more ways. And that massively increases the probability of them making new breakthroughs. Now, actually, the real era of AI technology has been the last 5 years, max the last 10 years. Now, that has been a product of these generation of young people. They actually have more opportunities. And on the other hand, people who have been spending a lifetime on old technology, that's not so much used these days. Young people are more flexible and more adaptable, and it's much easier for them to be like that. So do you feel old in your industry? Well, to some extent, yeah. A whole generation of young people growing up, maturing, and also the proportion of STEM graduates and the sheer human numbers in China as well. That's a big human factor. Okay, thank you. Next question, this lady over here, please, who's in the first row. Thank you very much to Yang Nan. I'm from the Huaxia News. I'd like to ask a question to Professor Li. In 2024, CKGSB raised a concept of new processes, and what is the potential interlinkage of that with AI? Is there a potential for synergies between the two? Secondly, when you talk to your students, do you find you're able to inculcate them with the right kind of entrepreneurial spirit? Thanks very much. Can I answer in Chinese? All right. Thank you very much for the question. Now, the lady over there was asking about how you make craft or processes under AI. That's a very interesting question. One of my students is an entrepreneur who told me that he wanted to create the world's best Chinese language teacher. For example, lots of frontier areas in China don't have very good teachers available. We used to send teachers down to the countryside. But, it would be better maybe if we could provide a digital version of a teacher or a digital person using the best teaching materials to teach people in remote areas of China, whether it be arts or sciences, so that any pupil could be taught by this kind of AI agent. And I met this medical expert as well. We have basically the point that this person was making is that we most lack intelligence on a global level. And that's something that AI can provide to us. And also we have an aging population, and they need company, they need sort of emotional support. Now, it's very hard for them to rely on their children now for that. So if you kind of an AI robot interacting with you communicating and just being there with you, that's a very good way to use AI. So a lot of students coming into CKGSB are very good entrepreneurs. Nan Cenghui, Leng Youbing, and Jack Ma have been members, like Wang Xingxing, of our CEO class. Now, one thing that I do say is that these entrepreneurs shouldn't just live a rich life, but they should also live an enriched life.
但是 we want them to live to make an impact 啊，所以呢，我觉得就是说，我们非常强调公益，我们的学生要必须。
So we want them to take at least 48 course hours of public benefit classes. So again 就是我觉得 AI 公益啊，就是因为我们可以解脱人们。 不好意思，我
它可以解脱人们很多的。
Because now AI can remove a lot of tedious tasks from your work. Now,
AI take away my job. 但是 when industrialization came, they took away your labor's job in the field. So nobody complained that. If nobody wants to go back to the old days. So I think there are going to be tremendous opportunities AI will give us to that we can have 100 agents work for us. We can do all kinds of creative work. So 我觉得 it's going to be tremendous.
So AI 作为一个工具。
So AI as a tool will be able to be applied in all areas of our work life and also for public benefit. So we can make the world better with it. Okay, we're running short of time, so let's come to the last part of the discussion. I'd like to ask each panelist in a few words to tell us what their big concern about AI is going to be in the next 6 to 12 months.
What's the elements or aspects that you would pay most of your attention to in AI development? 从周董开始吧。未来
Start with Mr. Zhou. So in the next 6 months, what's going to be your biggest focus in AI? Well, my preoccupation is going to be whether AI can seriously improve company productivity. All right, Mr. Wang. Well, our whole industry is AI driven at the moment, so my preoccupation is going to be when we integrate AI, will we be able to make it more broadly usable? For example, if we can use it to replace a lot of physical work. So I hope that by next year, some AI robots will be able to play football better than humans, or at least they'll be able to be used broadly in households. So humanoid robots, will they be functionally a lot better and be able to do amazing things in the future? Well, yeah, they have to improve their skills and make them more effective and practical.
AI and like robotics, and I personally dream of having this kind of household robotic to help me relieve me of all these household duties. But I also don't want them to step on my feet, So I think whether policymakers, academic, or business entrepreneurs, I think we all need to think ahead of the potential AI risks and how we can better take precautions and prevent them. And to address potential liability issues, yeah.
Okay, Kian. 哦，您在做这个，您可以。
Well, you could just answer briefly on that. Right.
For me, it's if AI can accelerate learning, help us learn at the speed of light, ideally. I think that there's a few things that need to improve. I trust that the foundation model, OpenAI, DeepSeek, is going to continue to get better. But most people building AI have to be expert at making them work. That's the layer on top.
Yeah.
It's all about the details. Can an AI mentor have the right memory to remember everything you did with it? Can it have the right level of latency? Can it use the right language with the right terminology? Can it have the context about the company you're working in or the school you're part of? I think all of that is what the challenge is going to be over the
For
next
AI
12
to
months.
understand our context.
That's right.
That's
yeah.
that's a task.
Yeah.
那李院长
Yeah，就是我觉得
Is I think
in terms like industrial size, potential, humanoid robot, I believe has the biggest potential. Like in China, in the past several decades, there are 3 industries that are, $10 trillion size. Home appliance, smartphone, automobile in China. 这3个 3 big industries. The next big one, humanoid robot. Because China, we are aging, we need labor, labor cost becomes higher. And then we have the DeepSeek model, we have all the manufacturing capabilities in terms of motor, sensor, all these batteries, all these things. With the model, with the manufacturing capability, China has a potential to become a leading player in humanoid robot. I think that's the biggest industry that will
所以
have
你觉
impact.
得王星星
so. You think the enterprise of Mr. Wang Xinxin is very promising, super promising? It is. Yes, due to time constraints, we have very hasty and short discussion. But anyway, we touched some important topics. The development pathway of AI, there is some experience to draw. For example, how do we culture talents? How do we use the technologies on the market? And how does the government design policy to support industry? And the young entrepreneurs, they are really hardworking. All of these are the factors necessary for success. And I would like to make a summary. Nowadays, we have very rapid development of AI, and today we sit together to have this face-to-face interaction with our audience. This is very important, valuable. And Kian, you work together with Mr. Wenda Andreon.
先生也是过去
And Andreon is the person in charge of the Google Brain. And I produced a documentary. I interviewed him, and he has a prediction for the future, saying that he wants to use the AI agent to replace my work.
He said to me when I was interviewing him, he said, "Oh, Lan, I think it's very interesting how you ask questions. I will invent an AI to replace you." I said, "Wait until I retire." 所以那时候温达先生跟我说，他说杨澜你提问题。
He says, your way asking questions very interesting. I want to invent an AI to replace you. So actually, this is a challenge for all the journalists today. Essay is impossible until my retirement. So what I want to say now is that AI can help us to do a lot of things, but it's very meaningful and important that we have this kind of face-to-face dialogue and talk, and it's go beyond the efficiency and dialogue, so which cannot be replaced. So as a moderator, I thank you again, all the panelists, and please join me to give a big hand to all the panelists. Thank you. And this session has come to an end. Thank you.
我们拍一张照片吧。
So I would like to invite you to take a group picture.
哇。